Hey all, Aaron from Optimistic Futurist here. I just wanted to, off the back of recent events, have a super quick video. I didn't intend to make this one, but it seems that it's probably time to talk about the Australian constitutional monarchy and possibly us becoming a republic. Obviously, off the back of the death of Queen Elizabeth II, our previous monarch, and our new monarch, King Charles III, there has been a large amount of talk about Australia again trying to become a republic. In 1999, there was a referendum which didn't succeed. The votes were basically 60-40, of 60% being no, we should stay within the Commonwealth of the British Empire, and 40% or 39 point something of yes, we should become a republic. There has been renewed talk of Australia becoming a republic and leaving behind all of the history that comes along with the colonisation from the British Empire, things like the First Nations War. There has been a real push and public interest to look into recognising the harm done by the colonisation of the British Empire and really separating the Australian constitution and our system of government away from the monarchy. Me personally, I always thought that the monarchy and the Governor-General, who is the representative of the monarch here in Australia, was more of a ceremonial role. But having looked into it over the past couple of weeks, it's actually a little bit more than that. Whilst, yes, a lot of the functions are seen as ceremonial and, you know, there's the rubber stamping of legislation that is passed by the Parliament. There is the control of the Executive Council, and the Governor-General is actually considered the head of state. They are the representative of the head of state, at least. But as we've seen in the 1975 constitutional crisis, where the Governor-General dismissed the Prime Minister then liaised with the Queen directly, and she said that she would not interfere in the Governor-General's actions because he is, as per the Constitution, the head of state. So the Queen and the monarchy is clearly not going to side with the popularly democratically elected population's representatives. They're just going to side with monarchy top-down driven system. And this really calls into question exactly how much influence and power the Governor-General and the monarchy have over our parliamentary system. The main thing that I found through my research was a thing called royal assent, which is basically when all of the policies and laws have been driven through the Parliament and are being passed into law, there is a process called the royal assent, which is basically the rubber stamping from the monarch to say, yes, this is now enshrined in law. The issue is there, however, that if a law is to the displeasure or an inconvenience to the monarch, then they are within their rights to withhold that royal assent. The even scarier part is that they can actually rescind the royal assent within a year. So if, for example, there just happened to be a law that was passed initially by Queen Elizabeth II that would enshrine privacy or free speech and the right to protest, and then a new monarch came along and was unhappy with how people were protesting certain things, maybe possibly something to the effect of #NotMyKing or issues with the monarchy in general, then that royal assent could actually be removed, and the protection that it gave, enshrined in law, is now no longer legally binding. That is just a example of something that could happen. And then also we have to talk about, obviously, the current issue with Governor-General Hurley and his appointment of former Prime Minister Scoot Morrison to appoint himself to multiple portfolios, and he was an executive minister within those portfolios. And this is a unprecedented, some have called it highly undemocratic, to have all of that executive power, especially within the Westminster system, centered into one individual. And there's been many articles, which I'll probably post on the screen somewhere here, that have referenced this particular scandal. with this timing of Queen Elizabeth II, it's all really calling into question exactly how our governmental system is run and how the Australian Parliament actually represents the wants and needs and security of the Australian people, especially those of First Nations people. And this is where the main kind of caution has come along with a referendum for a republic yet again, as we saw it didn't pass in 1999, and we have an upcoming referendum for an enshrined voice to Parliament for First Nations, Aboriginal, Indigenous people in Australia. I think Australia as a whole really needs this to pass so that we can have this more holistic and harmonious governmental approach for, at the very least, the First Nations people and everyone else who calls this great country home. There has been a lot of calls that we need to not push this republic referendum currently. My initial thought, the government should be able to pass more than one thing through at a time. The general population has been bombarded with so much misinformation. I can totally understand how the two referendums would be clouded by each other. It also calls into question, does the current parliamentary and government system work for the people at large? Does it have the population's best interests at heart? Or is there outside influences like corporate lobbying, etc., that are really getting in the way of proper governance that is for the people, by the people? We live in a democratic system, but is it the best way that we could do things? If we are going to change up the constitution and our system of government, maybe we should start thinking a little bit broader about how we can actually have better systems in place for checks and balances so that things like the current scandal with the Governor-General don't reoccur, so that we don't have this concentration of power and that there is further checks and balances, especially things, royal commissions and all of inquiry into corruption and misuse of power. All of that needs to be even further enshrined in a new system of government for our great country. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you may have learned something, and I would be super interested in any thoughts you have on Australia possibly becoming a republic or ways that we could change our governmental system so that it better represents us as a people. I know currently there is a lot of disenfranchisement with our governmental system and our parliamentary class, but I think that we could have some good discussions, and that's probably the main thing that is really going to get Australia across the line in any meaningful policies in the near future. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.